Welcome, beautiful people, to the Sharquita Show. I am your host. I grew up in Washington, D.C. with the name Sharquita. It had a stigma attached, a negative stigma attached to my name, living in the inner city. However, this Sharquita is moral, undefeated, unique, and here to uplift you. Join me and my special guest today, my mother, as we go on a journey of her experience in DC. We're going down memory lane and we're talking about triumphs and overcoming. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. So listen, be prepared today to be educated, inspired, and empowered as I go on this journey with my mom, talking about her experiences in DC. So, hi, Mom, my sweetness. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, baby.
You're welcome. So let's lay some foundation here. Please share with everyone your culture and your birthplace.
Okay, I was born in Washington, D.C., and I'm a Black African American.
Yes. So I'm gonna take you down memory lane. So I you think back. Yes. So I'm gonna take you down memory lane. So tell me a little bit about DC in the 60s.
Back in the 60s, was a lot going on. We had the riots.
Oh, what were the riots?
Everybody, it was a lot of Blacks.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. So we was
Wow.
like basic claiming, I guess, our nation, our city, yes.
I gotcha. Okay. So what about the 70s? What stuck out for you in the 70s in Washington, D.C.?
The 70s. You're talking my stuff now. That was the good old days.
You said it was the good old days?
That was the good old days. Those
That's
days
funny.
was like it wasn't a lot going on as it is now. We can leave our doors open.
Wow.
And worry about people breaking into our house and so forth. Everybody was close. You know, everybody was like family.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's good. Cause I don't necessarily remember DC that way. So with that said, let's talk about the magnificent 80s.
The 80s is when you came along.
Right.
Those were the good times. We had a lot of go-go going on.
I remember that. A little bit of that, yeah.
You know, races. We had a little bad stuff going on. I remember back in that time, it was we had a problem with this drug lord kingpin, Rayford Edmonds.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. We had it's like an anti Klan thing going on.
Wow.
Yes. So it was a lot going on back in the 80s.
Wow. I don't remember much of the 80s. But I do remember having some experiences where the police, and it might have been the 90s or 80s, it gets hazy, but I do remember the police doing a lot of bust and locking a lot of people up. I mean, just around the clock. And to watch that, as you're outside playing and, and
Mhm.
things like that, I was just wondering what was going on,
That was
and I do remember too, one specific time where we were playing in the yard, my sisters and I, and we actually had the police came through and did a drug bust or whatever, and they actually gave us all the money. They had wads of money, and they gave
mhm.
us money to go to the ice cream truck. And at that time, I thought, wow, police are are really good people to do that.
Yeah.
Not knowing what was really going on in our city, that most of our Black males at that time were being taken in for you know um, possessions, small possessions, things of that nature. It might have been the war on drugs or whatever you call it. I think from Ronald Reagan, if I remember correctly. But I do remember just a lot of people being taken, into custody for very, not anything that had to do with crimes, but just little possession things. Not that I'm condoning possession at all, but I'm just saying I do remember that, and I remember how it affected the community,
Yeah.
because people no longer, children no longer had their fathers or males around, and I do remember that affecting the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you remember from the 90s? I remember more from the 90s, but yeah.
The 90s. That's when I had your youngest sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so things were kind of crazy around that time. I don't remember too much, but raising y'all.
This is true, because by that time you had 3 kids.
Yep.
Yep, and you were raising us as a single mom. And I remember the 90s because I remember you allowed us to, have fashion, right? The fashion that was kind of in. At Persucos were in. So I remember you paying
Yes.
$100 for those, and
Yes.
for us, and things like that. But so in my earlier segments, I talked about names. And of course, you heard me in the introduction talk about my name. And so
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that, because I have 2 different versions of this story. So how did you come up with my name?
Well, I picked your name out of a baby book.
Wow.
Actually, I just changed it a little bit because it was Sharquita.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I'm gonna make her different.
Mm-hmm.
Said I'm gonna put a SH, take the CH off and put a SH.
Uh-huh.
So that's how you became with the name Sharquita.
Wow. So in the
Yes,
book,
I
was
didn't.
it Sharquita? Like, was it SH, like the banana? Was it spelled like the banana?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
SHI. I mean, it was CHI, but
I
I
got
took
you.
out that CH in the I, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it a SHAR.
Wow. Okay. Got
Yes.
you. Did you, at the time that you did that, did you know what it meant?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
I
So guess what
didn't.
it means? Guess what it means?
What it mean?
Moral.
There you go.
Look at
Okay.
God. Look at God.
Isn't he good? Isn't
Certainly
he
good.
good?
Well, thank
Yes.
you. Yes. Well, thank you, Mom, for shedding some light on that. When we come back, I want to talk more about our journey in DC, and how not only my name, but my experience too, and how it's made me the person I am today. So stay tuned, everybody, to hear from my mom when we come back. We'll be right back.
Strategically Inspired Solutions is your source for personal and professional development services. Our dedicated team of transformational coaches, speakers, and consultants know how to drive innovation and deliver high impact results. In our one-on-one or group coaching programs, you will discover and design the authentic life you have always desired. Strategically Inspired Solutions also offers comprehensive consulting services to small, mid-size, and large firms. We invite you to join our family of clients and partners by visiting our website at www.sismotivation.com. We look forward to working with you in creating a newfound purpose, vision, and energy for yourself, your company, and within your communities.
Welcome back to the Sharquita Show. I am here with my queen mother, and we're going down memory lane, and we're talking about some culture and names and meanings of names. So speaking of meanings of names, Mom, you and I both, and Grandma, have very, very unique names. And
Yeah.
so I want you to talk a little bit about that. And then I want you to let me know what, if you know what you and Grandma's name means.
Well, I know my mother, I'm named after my mother.
Right.
And my great grandmother named her,
Mm-hmm.
with grandmother.
Right.
And she said the name meant to her special.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I know.
Wow. But
It's
your name is so unique. Like I tried to look it up and I only saw one other person. And so I want you to pronounce your name for me so that we know what your name is.
okay, it's Verletris.
Verletris. Yes, we only found one other outside of somebody that's related to me. Of course, my grandmother, with that name. And so what I also wanted to talk about is, your experience in DC. What events impacted you the most, you would say, in DC?
What event?
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just born. I think I was still an infant when Martin Luther King died. And that
Wow.
that impacted me a lot as
Mm-hmm.
I was growing up because I read more about it and I was hearing about it. And now when during the time of the riot, I was just an infant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Wow. And I know that Grandma Nini was actually, younger at that time. And certainly she didn't die until she was in her late 80s. But what kind of things did you hear from her, which is my great great grandmother? And then, what kind of things did you hear from my great grandmother, which is your grandmother?
well, she didn't talk too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was your great grandmother that
Mm-hmm.
you talk a lot about it.
Yeah.
Was telling me as back in the days when they were coming up, it was real bad because I say colored skin. They didn't like our skin
Mm-hmm.
color.
In
They
DC.
treated us bad. Yes, in DC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They treated us bad. We were slaves to them.
I got you. Okay.
So yeah. And that really put a lot in my head. I'm like, wow. And then seeing some of the movies that was coming, that was out there, like Roots,
Okay.
I got a chance to really see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I was reliving it and I wasn't even here at the time
Wow.
going on. It's like
That's
I was
important.
reliving everything that was going on.
Yeah. So, how did that impact you? Because you talked about, it being real for you in your mind. Like, how did that impact you with your studies and your dreams? And like, what were your aspirations as a little girl?
Well, as a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
mm, she didn't really tell me about it until I got like around 10 years old, 10 or
Mm-hmm.
11 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
at that age, I just couldn't believe that had happened. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that happened, something like that. I look up to whites, all color people.
Yeah.
So back then, just to think that they looked at us differently, we were slaves and they
Mm-hmm.
treated us certain ways. Yeah, that was really sad to me. I couldn't believe
Mm-hmm.
it. I
Yeah,
couldn't.
and I could see that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could see how it could confuse you, as a little girl, and it
yeah,
could, make you angry and maybe upset and just not knowing how to move forward. Now,
yeah.
when you grew up, what kind of things did you actually see with your eyes? So in terms of school, did you guys have the resources that you needed with school, like books and all the stuff that you needed in school?
Yeah, we had our books and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
We can we had libraries, we can go and get library cards and go to the library and get books out.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have a lot of that. Yeah.
But do you think that DC at that time was segregated? Was there some parts of DC that were better than others?
Yeah.
Okay, so what part did you live in, and what part did you think that was better than others?
I lived in the upper part of DC.
Okay, so northwest, northeast,
West.
northwest. Wow.
Like some northeast, some northwest. Yes.
Okay.
And the south side of DC was the bad side.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I went to high school. Right, south side. So at the time you were younger, though, when you were living in Northwest, was that an affluent neighborhood in Northwest at that time, or did it happen to be affluent later in the years?
Later in the years.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so when you were living there, it wasn't a good place to live.
Somewhat it wasn't.
Okay.
No. We still had our shootings and deaths and so forth.
Yeah. So I know that, and this is a question coming from my social worker hat, right? So I know that you I want to know from you, how do you think that welfare was beneficial to you, or do you think it was a hindrance from what you wanted to do, like the dreams you wanted to pursue?
At the time, it was benefiting me.
Okay.
But once I got up in later in the years and age, it started hindering me, but it helped me.
It helped you, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, because you had 3 girls and you were trying to raise us to the best of your ability. So how did it hinder you when you got, when you got older?
Because it was hard for me to go back to school.
Okay.
It was hard for me to get a job outside of receiving welfare.
Yeah.
So.
I see what you're saying. So, and speaking of that, people that I know who are still back home, in DC, teenagers, I'm thinking about them too. What kind of advice would you give them? What would you say to them now that you've lived a little bit and and have more wisdom? What would you say to them if they're thinking about aspirations and dreams and all of that?
I would tell them to listen, one, to their parents.
That's good.
Tell them to stay in school.
Yeah.
Not grow up too fast.
Because
I was a teen mom and I know how rough it is.
Right.
I would tell them to seek God.
Love it. Some good advice.
Yeah,
that's some good advice. Mom, I say this all the time. I wrote this in my book. You're one of the most resilient people I have ever met. Like, I don't even know how you've overcome most of the things you've been through. And it's not my business to tell it, but
make me cry.
Don't cry. But honestly, you're one of the most resilient people. So I just hope that I have that finishing anointing on my life that you have had in your life. I've seen you overcome a lot, and I've seen the injustices, and I've experienced them with you, and I don't know how much of that you knew that trickled down to us, but I saw the injustices and we experienced them with you. And so, to live in the nation's capital where across town, legislation is happening. The president of America has the stamp, and the Capitol is right there where they're making all the laws, and to not see change, or to see change for the worse in your neighborhoods has to be overwhelming, day after day. And so how did you get through? Because a lot of things, one thing that I noticed is lacking in DC is hope.
Yeah.
Hope is lacking. And so how did you find the hope? Where did you find the faith to believe what you believe?
God. Believing in God, baby, because it's like we reliving the 60s all over again.
Wow.
With everything that's going down at the the capital.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is going down all over the world right now. It's like
Wow.
we're reliving it all over again. So you have to stay prayed up.
Wow,
You
that's
know,
good.
you have to stay prayed up because that's the only thing that's going to help you right now.
Yes.
It's the
Wow.
only,
Thank you, Mom, for that. I didn't realize that history was repeating itself, and
yes,
so
it is.
thank you for saying that, because it's very important what we do with what's going on. So you guys stay tuned. When we get back, we will talk more with my mom about her journey in DC, and just a little bit about why I'm doing what I'm doing, purpose, right? And so stay tuned. We will be right back. Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Sharquita Show. Today, I have my queen mother on, and we're talking about her journey and experiences and culture in DC, being a native of Washington, D.C., and also a current resident of Washington, D.C. So thank you, Mom, for being on today, giving me all these good wisdom points, but also just giving me information that I don't know, because I am stuck in my time frame of when the Lord decided to bring me to the earth. So thank you for shedding some light on what happened before I was born in Washington, D.C., and where we are now. And that leads me to the next point is, I had my experiences growing up in DC, and of course it birthed my passion. And I have a passion to do therapy, and a passion to do life coaching, and all that I do, watering and planting and shedding light for growth for other people to be able to grow and to be what God called them to be. So I want to know, what are some things that you noticed when I was younger? And this is for parents who are watching. What are some things that you noticed when I was younger that made you think that I was an agent of change?
Well, actually, I didn't think that you would be the way you are now as far as counseling and all that, because you were my basketball star. You
This is
started.
true. That is true.
You
That's
gonna be
my
my
element. That's my
yes,
jam.
yes. So,
Yes.
mhm.
Okay, so I know that the last time I was at your house, you gave me some awards. You were like, look what I found. And it was something that had to do with like safety patrol, or, a writing. I won a writing award. And I just remember getting a lot of awards when I was younger for track and sports
Yeah.
and writing and things like that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
All right. So, of course, I'm writing my book, Epic Life. And it's not just my story, but it's your story, and it's my grandmother's story. And what I wanted to do was to give homage, to give education, to give
Yeah.
information to people about what it was like for us growing up in Washington, D.C. Because a lot of the times when people think of D.C., they think of the nation's capital. They think of the monument. They think of the Capitol, right? And
Yes.
the museums, and oh my gosh, yes, I need to go to DC and travel and enjoy that
Yeah.
experience. And yes, it is an experience, but I wanted to talk about the natives experience, right? And so yes, we were living right there with all this potential, but felt like we had none. Felt like
Yeah.
we were restricted. Felt like we couldn't breathe, right?
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to write the book and say, yes, it is a great country. Yes, Washington, D.C. is a good city, but there are some parts that are left out when we think about Washington, D.C. And so, I just wanted to dispel some myths. I wanted to give some education and shed some light, and also talk about my journey and help others who grew up in DC, because there are still a lot of people who grew up there who don't have hope, and who don't have purpose and who don't know life and life more abundantly. So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do with the book. And I wanted to thank you for being on today and being so transparent and being able to talk about these things. I really appreciate it. I love you to life. I do, and you're my rock. So I thank you for being on. Now you're gonna have me crying, but I thank you for being on today. And I want to thank all of you beautiful people for watching, for tuning in to the Sharquita Show today. I want you all to join me next week, and I hope today that you grab some seeds of faith as we water, planet, and shed light for growth. I want you to be on the lookout for my Epic Life book. I will put it on all of my social media when it comes out, including here on the Sharquita Show. And I want you to join me next week as we meet an incredible woman and listen to her amazing story of love, humanity, community, and faith. She is an inspiration and joy to many. You don't want to miss out on this epic opportunity. I'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.